And today we're going to talk about another one of my favorite subjects, which is exercise. Remember what we learned in the first few principles about air, water, and exercise? These, what are called the non-negotiables when it comes to really experiencing a total level of health and vitality. Again, we're going back to our cell. Every cell requires movement or contraction in order for it to function properly. Now, the body will determine, if you're dealing with a physiologist or whatever, they'll say there's red cells and white cells and, fast twitch fibers and muscle fibers and smooth tissue. It can all get very confusing, but we can tell you this. All cells require oxygen, right? We do know that. And we do know that through contraction that they remove waste out of the body. This is the reason why exercise has such a powerful effect. Also, if you get buildup of toxins on the cellular level, what happens is you start sticking cells together. And of course, this leads to lack of flexibility, which is associated oftentimes with old aging. These filaments stop to slide very well, and you start getting stiff. And so when it comes to exercise, there's a variety of different things. And people say, Wade, what's the best exercise? First thing I'll say this. You can classify exercise into multiple different disciplines. The first two, I think, are aerobic. So I'm going to write that over here. And the other one is anaerobic. And those become pretty self-explanatory. What that means is aerobic means with oxygen. So it has oxygen inside the body. In other words, it's usually what you'd associate it with walking or biking or running, long distance type of things where you can go and you're getting oxygen. You're relying on your oxygen metabolism in order to fuel your cell. Then there's short term, which is without oxygen, which is called anaerobic. So anaerobic is like short bursts. Usually it's associated with a higher level of muscularity. For example, Arnold Schwarzenegger would be a term of a guy that mastered anaerobic kind of training. He built lots of muscles, were good for short, quick bursts, or sprinters, or weightlifters. In aerobic, you look at long-distance runners. Maybe one of the most famous would be a guy by the name of Stu Middleman, who is known for running hundreds of miles day after day. I mean, an incredible ultra-endurance guy, and he's got some great books out there. And then you can look at, but there's also another component to exercise, which is flexibility. So a lot of people learn to yoga. If you can think of Bikrams would be a great example of, increasing flexibility training. And doing that allows you to have a higher level of health. And then, of course, there's, you can get down to what's called strength, which is there's different types of strength. Holding strength, explosive strength, endurance strength. And one of my favorite strength guys is a guy by the name of Elliot Hulse. But again, when it comes down to these, realize that you need a little bit of both. And ideally, you're going to add some flexibility training in there. And I have to confess, this was flexibility training was one that I really struggled with. So when I was younger, of course, we just did weight training. I wanted to be bigger. I was really skinny, and I wanted to have bigger muscles. So I started working out and training to build up my muscles. And the interesting thing about weight training is when you contract the muscle, you also automatically relax the other muscle. So there is a certain amount of flexibility. But I didn't train all the movements. So some movements I became more flexible, and others I became less flexible. And of course, now that I'm older, I incorporate a lot more flexibility. I would encourage you to start with it. The other thing is I started out doing a lot of aerobic training like long distance running and stuff, and then I moved into anaerobic. So I had a good foundation, which kind of set me up better than some people, and I feel very grateful for that. But no matter where you are, you got to realize that your cells will always respond to training. So people are like, well, wait, I really don't exercise. I don't have enough time. How am I supposed to get it all done? There's only 24 hours a day. I've got kids. I got work. I get it. I understand. There's a lot of different ways to do it. The first and foremost is, remember we talked about MyFitnessPal app. If you go back to that app, one of the minimum things they've established, there's a bunch of research out there that you need to walk at least 10,000 to 20,000 steps. And that app will monitor your movement. And that's what I really love about it. Sometimes we live a sedentary lifestyle, and I'll realize that I'll be sitting there at nighttime and working on my computer or working on something, and I realize, I look at my app, and I only went 5,000 steps that day. And I go, oh, you know what? I want to make sure I at least get my 10. And I go out and, I take a short little walk, and pretty soon I'm right back up to that 10,000. So set that goal for your 10,000 to 20,000 steps per day. That to me is your minimum goal. Everybody can do this, or virtually everybody can do this. So that sort of thing, it's very easy to get into the routine of that to start. That's your basic. It's an aerobic exercise, walking. It's comfortable. It moves the lymphatic system. Okay. Anaerobic training, ideally strength training at least 3 times a week. That's the best. I mean, if you want to go to the highest levels, you're going to do more. We do have programs for that. You can check out our website at Bioptimizers for some coaches and recommendations, whether you want to be a strength athlete like an Elliot Hulse, or you want to be a bodybuilder like me, or maybe you want to be an endurance runner like, say, Stu Middleman. It's different types of training. Just do the one that you're most comfortable with. But then people go, Wade, what about flexibility? Well, you can add some yoga, and then it's like too many hours. And some people really like yoga as their primary exercise. And you can build strength as well inside of different yoga courses. Go and try one. Take a time out and just go try something. See how it is. Even if you never liked it, go try a weight training session. Go try a biking session if you haven't done it. Just experiment. Be flexible in your mind. But people like, Wade, I want simple, I want fast, I want easy, I want efficient. And I looked around for that because I travel a lot now and I don't have the same amount of time as I had before. So sometimes I'm really stuck. But I did discover what I feel is the simplest, fastest, easiest, most cost-effective way to exercise. And here's the real beauty of it. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes per day. And here's the best part. It works aerobic, it works anaerobic, it works flexibility, and it has a unique ability by increasing the amount of mitochondria inside your cell, called mitochondria density. It's like turning your 4-cylinder car into a V12 Ferrari. And I learned this from a guy by the name of David Hall, and I highly recommend his work. He created a device which we call the Cellerciser. Now, I brought this one in today. We're filming actually in the desert. This machine has been in the desert heat for 5 years. So I'm not one of those guys that shows you the pristine showroom type of thing. I'm here to show you the real deal about a high-quality mini trampoline. So these are called mini trampolines. And what they do is they allow you to bounce up and down and train them. I'm going to demonstrate in a minute. But as you can see, it's got dirt on here. This was literally out in the desert for 5 years. If you get a mini trampoline, so we look at this. We're looking at a mini trampoline. There's a couple of things I want to tell you about. Number one, you do not want a device that bottoms out. Number two, you don't want to get one of those cheap $10 or $15 ones with the cheap springs. If you look on here, these have highly developed what they call a barrel spring, or a tapered spring, not a barreled string. So it's got a different size springs for different densities and weights of people, so it makes it smoother. These are Japanese all-ill construction that allows you to get benefits on all single, whether you're jumping here, here, or here. It'll make you go up and down so you get no shearing forces. The other thing, they're extremely durable. And how it works is like this. So all I do is I get up in the morning, and what I do with my ritual, and you're going to get, you want to fast forward to the ritual. So some people say, I want the whole program. I'll show you how to do this entire formula in 15 minutes. That comes in a later lesson, or you can fast forward to it, but let me show you this. So I just stop on here, and this is called the health bounce. So I just bounce up and down. Now what's interesting, if I'm lifting weights, like if I'm building my biceps, and I'm doing bicep curls, I'm only doing, I'm damaging our thing here. I'm only working my biceps. If I'm working my legs in a leg extension machine, I'm only working my legs. However, when I jump on the trampoline, I'm using 3 different forces: acceleration, deceleration, okay, and gravity. They're all supporting me. So I get at the top of the bounce, I get a little point of weightlessness. At the bottom, I get this speed times my weight. So what that gives me is an extra push. Now, what's interesting here on our cell is that when I'm bouncing, all of my cells inside the body are all contracting like this. What that allows to do is that pumps waste out of my system and pumps oxygen in. It also works not just my biceps, it works my brain cells, it works my toenail cells. It works every single cell in my body because I'm leveraging gravity in a way that's very difficult to do it in any other format. And kids already know this. Little kids know that if they're ate too much sugar or got too much chemicals inside the body, what they'll do is they'll start to jump up and down, usually on a bed or on a couch. And that's because they're trying to move the fluid out of the lymphatic system. And one of the reasons that children seem to have a lot more energy is that their lymphatic system, right here, this is the extracellular fluid, isn't as chemically built up as they are when you get older. So now they can move energy through the system quicker. And with this, you kind of recaptivate your inner child by bouncing up and down. And David has put together a complete 10-minute routine. And that routine allows you to work your strength, your anaerobic, your aerobic training, your flexibility training. It's simple, it's fast, it's easy. And not only that, it's scalable. And that's the most important part. So just to recap exercise, okay? Remember, so first thing we want exercise that involves aerobic, a little bit of exercise that involves anaerobic, and because we want to get oxygen, we want to make sure we're pumping the fluid through your body. So hydrate beforehand. Drink a liter before or during. And another reason, that's why I use the ionized water, because it absorbs a lot better. And then finally, something that adds flexibility. And if you want all of those things, simple, fast, and easy, I highly recommend using as many trampolines. If you want to go to our link on the website, that will hook you up and get you the proper machine, because you do not want to go out and get a cheap one of these. One of the things, there's nothing more expensive than a product that doesn't work. So cheap is not always better. Better is better. When it comes to your body, go with high quality. Take the time, effort, and energy. And get involved with this. And, maybe you're not ready for that, but just get started. Do the 10,000 to 20,000 steps a day. Start somewhere and commit to do your exercise every single week. Pick the person that you model that fits your body type or what you want to achieve, and start modeling them. And as you go through these lessons, we want you to build each and every one so that they stagger on top of each other. And again, by the end of this, you're going to have all 12 principles. So this exercise is going to be easy. At first, it's not. At first, it's going to seem a little bit challenging if you haven't started. Or if you're incorporating something new, like I went to a few yoga classes, and it was very difficult when I started out, but now I really like it. You go through those 4 phases that we talked about earlier, the competency where you're, unconsciously incompetent, consciously incompetent, then you're, consciously competent, and then you're unconsciously competent. By the time you get to the end of these lessons, if you follow everything and commit to it, you are going to get to that 4th stage so that this becomes simple and easy. And believe me, it's worth it, because let's consider the option. We all know the effects of if you don't. We all know the effects of being tired, or we can find all the excuses, but those are just habits. You need to blow those habits out of your mind, and you need to get exercise incorporated inside your life. So with that, that's the end of lesson 7. So write down what you're going to commit to, whether it's the 10,000 walks a day, whether it's go to a yoga class this week, or take up a weight training thing, or go for a cycle or a run. Figure out which one that you're going to do. Make sure you get approval from your medical doctor. And 3, commit, commit, commit. We'll see you on the next lesson, lesson number 8. This is lesson number 7, exercise, and one of the most critical ones. We'll see you soon.